Hi guys, welcome to Small Farmer Life. Hope you're all having an awesome day. And today guys, I want to answer the question that somebody asked me on YouTube and wanted me to dig a little deeper into land banking and what land banking actually is. Now, I'm not going to cover every single thing that is involved in land banking, but I'm going to talk about how land banking increases the value of land around the outside of towns and outside of cities drastically and keeps house prices artificially high. Because you might have heard your government or the government and your local council say it's not the planning department, it's the developers that's the problem. We've granted planning permission, it's just that the houses aren't being built. Now, if you're thinking about doing anything like this, guys, think about buying some land to live on yourself, maybe live off grid, maybe you want to develop some land yourself, whatever it might be, think about hitting the subscribe button, think about hitting the like button at the end of the video, and also hit the bell button to be notified of other videos. But what these development companies do is they understand how planning departments work and they understand government housing targets. So the government says that we want to build 250 or 300,000 new homes per year. And councils get targets to meet. And this is where you look at your local council's development plan for what they want to do over the next 5, 10, 15 years. And if you look at that local plan, it'll show you on that plan where they suggest houses should be built or could be built. Now, before this plan even comes to fruition or to the public's knowledge, developers have already been in there. They know the planners. They talk to the right people. And they understand where houses are needed, which towns are growing rapidly, like which towns have just had an Amazon fulfillment centre built on there or other warehousing facilities. And they understand that more houses will be needed in that town. So long before the local plan department has come up with a local plan, they are in there and they are sending letters to local farmers surrounding the outside of those towns and cities. And because the council know the town's going to grow, houses have to be built somewhere. And if there's no brownfield sites available, they are going to be built on greenfield, agricultural land or green belt land in most cases, or in some cases anyway. So what developers do is they'll get in contact with the farmers. They won't buy the land off the farmers. They don't make outright offers to farmers in the local area or around the outside of towns to buy that land off them. No, that's not what they do. That costs too much money. So they hedge the bet, so to speak. And it's really hedged in their favour. They know that councils that are under supplying houses in their local borough, they know that they have to grant planning permission for the right planning applications that come forward. So they have a team of planning consultants, a team of solicitors, and a team of financiers, which are the bankers, who are going to finance this planning application. They're going to finance the architects to do all the development, all that sort of stuff, to do the plans, to be put forward to the council. They will contact the farmers and they will offer the farmers a sum of money, let's say 100 grand just for the video. They will offer the farmers 100 grand just so they can put in a plan application on that farm's land. Now, to put in a plan application on somebody else's land, you don't need to own the land. You just have to get permission from that landowner to say that you can put in a plan application, in this case, in the developer's name, but on the farmer's land. So the developer's getting a plan application passed through on that farmland, not the farmer. Now, if the planning permission gets passed through the system, and it's going to, if not with a few hiccups along the way, because the council might want a small school built or they might want a development company to widen the road or something like that, which is always going to benefit the developer in some way, shape or form. Maybe the local council might get a new school, and they should, because the development company might be bringing in 500, 600, 700 new homes, and those children will need teaching at some schools. So instead of sending them off to the local schools that are already probably packed to the rafters, they'll build a small primary school or a small infant school or something like that. Now, what the farmers get, if planning permission is passed, will be about a 50% offer of what the land's actually worth. So the development companies will come forward after they've given them 100 grand. Now, they don't have to pay that 100 grand back if planning permission is not passed. Now, you've got to understand that these development companies are probably putting in 5 planning applications around the same town for different parcels of land owned by different farmers. And they're just putting, let's say, a £500,000 bet that one or two of these planning applications are going to be passed through the planning system, and they're going to be granted planning permission. Let's say it was a 10-acre site for a couple of hundred homes on that site. Now, a £100,000 bet isn't that bad when you know 2 out of the 5 planning applications are going to get through the system. And that 10 acres of land, which would have probably cost 150 grand without any planning permission, is now worth £15 million or £20 million with planning permission. So what they'll do is they'll give the farmer £5 million for that land. They'll get to keep the £100,000 that they give them at the beginning as a sweetener, so to speak, just so they could put a planning application through the planning system. Now, you might think, well, why doesn't the farmer do this? Well, the farmer probably doesn't have a couple of £100,000 to put a planning application in, because that's what it would cost the farmer to do. Now, what happens after planning permission is granted is the developers don't build the homes. They don't build the homes straight away, because if they did that, and all the planning permission that is granted in the UK, all them homes get built straight away, well, house prices in the UK would come down. And that's not good for developers, is it? So they will drip feed and build only what they need to build to keep house prices high. It's a capitalist society we live in, and capital to them is king. These developers increase the value of land out of reach of normal people. They don't build the houses they've been granted planning permission for. And all they've got to do is get that development off the ground, meaning they start to build the footings for one house, and that means they can take as long as they want to build the rest of the houses. Now, I think that planning departments and the government should say, you're getting planning permission passed, you've got the planning permission, start building houses in the next year. Otherwise, planning permission is revoked on that land, because the granting planning permission, the government's saying we need more houses. They're saying it's not their fault. They've granted planning permission. It's the developer's fault. Well, there's one way to stop developers from hoarding all the planning permission in the UK, and that is take the planning permission away from the developers if they don't start development straight away. Now, to get the planning permission passed in the first place, the developers should have to prove that they've got the funds available to build those homes. If not, they're going to grant a certain amount of mortgages to the poorer classes so people can get affordable houses or on the housing land. And not that everybody should own their own house, because this is a system where we're told we have to own our own houses. Not every country is like that. Lots of European countries don't own the housing. It's sort of a social housing structure, and they have a really good way of living. We're just made to think that you need to buy a house if you can buy a second house, and stop someone else from getting on the property ladder, because that's what you're doing. Them developers are increasing the value of the land. They're hoarding it all for themselves, so they're banking it for themselves. And they're drip feeding houses onto the housing market so the house pricing stays high, when really they could put enough houses on the housing market, affordable housing, so everybody could have their own home. And the councils could buy these houses from the developers because they're affordable, and they rent them back to the people who are in that town or coming into that town to work and that sort of thing. This is why people complain about not being able to afford land, because these development companies buy up all the land around the outside of towns. Now, they don't buy up land in the middle of nowhere. No, that's left for really rich people who just want to hoard land, because you've got Dyson, who's buying up land all over the UK, owns something like 100,000 acres or more. Then you've got the old families, the aristocrats, who own hundreds of thousands of acres all over the country, and they get paid, in some cases, millions of pounds back in subsidies from taxpayers' money just for owning that land. And they don't put millions into the land. They get a couple of £100 per hectare per year, and imagine owning 100,000 hectares. You're quids in, aren't you? That's why they invest in land, because land's a finite object. They're not making it anymore, so it's a sound investment. And if you've got the money to buy some land, I would certainly suggest buying the land than buying a house. If you can buy the land for cash, don't get a house on a mortgage. Buy the land for cash. And if you have to live in something like a cabin or a shed, then put up with it. You'll save a lot of money, because you've lived on your own land for 5, 6, 10 years, whatever it might be, and saved a lot of money that would have went to a mortgage company or somebody who's renting you the property, because landlords, leeches on society, they are not needed. They're a middleman that's not needed. They just step in because they've got the money to buy a home, they've got the money to put their deposit down on a house, and they will buy that house to rent back to somebody who has more money than the mortgage costs, because the landlord's not going to rent it out for less than the mortgage to cover the cost of the mortgage. So they rent it out and jack up the rent prices. So normal people never have enough money available to them to save to get the deposit for their own house. And that's just a capitalist society that we live in. It's shit. For most people, it is really shit, and it is a problem that we need to sort out, because the rich are just getting richer. You've seen the last mini budget, I say mini budget, it's nearly crashed the pound. Pensions, they're nearly crashed. Bank of England's had to step in with 60 billion at the beginning. But these people don't have a clue what normal people are going through or how normal people are living. I mean, who would think, given the tax break that they give to the top 1%, so anybody over £150,000 earning more than that per year saves £5,000, and anybody below that, well, they'll lose it. And they're losing it to energy companies that are backed by subsidies from the government. And don't let anybody tell you that energy companies couldn't be privatised, because they could, because they were at one time. I mean, you don't have 10 electrical cables coming into your home, do you? You have one, and that was off the national grid. And if that was left to privatisation to actually develop in the first place, it would never have been developed in the way it has been, because they wouldn't have sent electricity out to the sticks. No, they'd have sent it to towns, they'd have sent it to cities where they've got the masses all together. They'd have got electricity, but the people who were right out in the middle of nowhere, they wouldn't have got electricity. They got electricity provided them because the state provided it. So don't let people tell you that state-run utilities like water, gas, electric, train, post, that sort of thing is a bad thing. I mean, capitalists can run everything else, but no, they want the tentacles in every single thing they can possibly get the tentacles in. All they're doing is stripping them businesses away, thinking that people don't need this part, people don't need that part, we can save money here, we can save money there. Why don't the government do that and save all the money for themselves and put it back into the infrastructure? They just don't. But they get these private companies to do it, and then they make record profits like hundreds of millions every year that could be going back into the system, but it's not, because of greed of 1, 2, 3% of the population just want to take everything for themselves and leave the majority with nothing. And the longer the majority let this go on, well, and that's why they're called revolutions, because they just keep coming around and around. I mean, we've cut kings' heads off before, not just us, other countries, and toppled czars and governments of all types. And I'm sure this one is teetering on the edge of a cliff. You know, it's got the precipice, and it's going to get pushed over at some point in time in the next couple of years, I'd say so. Anyway, guys, if you like the video, hit the like button. If you're going to subscribe, and you should subscribe, hit the subscribe button. If you're going to be notified of more upcoming videos, hit the bell button. My name's Craig. You've been watching A Small Farm Life. Thanks again to all my patrons. Couldn't thank you guys enough. And YouTube members, really appreciate the support. Make sure you take care of yourself. Most of all, take care of the family. Be genuine, guys. Bye for now. See you.